Before I started the post process, I had already talked to a few guys. When I was looking around for a composer, I found a guy named Jacob A. Cadmus. I really enjoyed the work he's done in the past, so I contacted him and he wanted to be part of the team. So Jacob is the composer for this short film. In the beginning, I only had 2 voice actors. Madison Bruneller did the voice for Leia in the flashback sequence when we see Ben Solo as a kid. And then we have Anthony Sevins. Anthony did the voice for Han Solo, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren and Drowzee. So that was interesting, because Anthony is basically having a conversation with himself when he's doing the voice of Kylo Ren and Drowzee. For the Snoke voice, I contacted a guy named Ian Luke Shannon. I had seen his short film, Tragedy of the Chosen One, and he is making a good Snoke impression in that short film. So I was really impressed, so that's why I contacted him. If you haven't seen his short film, I will leave a link in the description and in the upper right corner, because it's actually really good and I think you should see it. We were very few people in the VFX team. Mauro is a skilled 3D modeler and he has created Magnemite, Parasect and Diglett. He did also the model for Drowzee in our previous episode, Pokémon Go in real life. A guy named Shamud rigged Parasect and Diglett and I did all the animation for them. I think the 2 guys did the modeling and the rigging part in like 20 days or so that is impressive. The last guy in my VFX team was Matthias. He was going to create everything with the character Drowzee, modeling, rigging, motion tracking and render all the shots. In our previous episode, Pokémon Go in real life, when Andreas caught Drowzee, it was Mauro who modeled him. The Pokémon Go in real life video went viral on Instagram and some people didn't like the way Drowzee was looking. I personally loved the way he looked. I think Drowzee would have looked like this in our world, more like an animal than a Pokémon. People were saying he didn't look like Drowzee at all. He looked sunburned, the ugliest Pokémon they have ever seen, and stuff like that. I wanted to please my fans, so Matthias came up with a suggestion to remodel him a bit. Some of the shots worked much better with the model Matthias had created, especially the close-ups because you can see his eyes much better and also the facial expression. Like this one. I started the rough cut, but in this stage in the production I wasn't finished with the Zelda episode and I hadn't even started with the motion comic. So I was working with 3 different projects at the same time. I had actually also shot a Minecraft concept trailer during the summer, but I didn't work with that one at all. So I was working here and there all the time on all projects, and at the same time I was working as a truck driver and a process operator during the day. I don't recommend that. It was so much work. So I started to prioritize. I finished the Zelda episode the month after, and after that I focused on the motion comic. After a few months, when I had finished the other 2 projects, I started with the Star Wars project again. For everyone who haven't watched the motion comic, I suggest you go and watch it, because it ties together with this fan film. Here is a spoiler for the motion comic, so if you haven't seen it, look away for a minute. As you can see here in the motion comic, when Andreas is shouting "Drowzee!
Drowzee!"
before he enters the cave, it's actually the same sequence as one of the flashbacks in the short film. When I looked at the rough cut, I wasn't happy at all. I didn't like the first scene in the forest. It was overexposed and really shaky. Do you remember I told you I was mistaken when I said I liked the Kylo chamber scene? I figured out something was wrong. I didn't like the mood of the scene and I didn't like the lighting. I watched the Kylo Ren chamber scene from Force Awakens and it looked quite different. In our scene, some lights was very cold and some lights was very warm. I just wanted the cold look, not the warm. I tried to color grade it to make it look colder, but it didn't work. And I don't understand what we were thinking when we put Vader's helmet under Kylo Ren's clothes. I don't like the way we revealed that, and I don't think Kylo would have done that. So I decided to reshoot these 2 scenes. I borrowed the red camera once again and we went to the forest. This time I had bought a slider so we can have some stable footage. It was me, Andreas and my dad who went to the forest to reshoot the first scene. So around 85% of the first scene it was only me, Andreas and my dad. And we did also some reshoots from the second half of the forest scene, the scene after all the flashbacks. It was really difficult being only 3 people on set. Andreas played Andreas and Kylo Ren, so he had to change his clothes back and forth between Andreas' outfit and Kylo Ren's. As you might understand, this is really time consuming. In one shot, a wide shot, Andreas is actually playing Andreas and Kylo Ren, so I had to take 2 shots and make it to 1 shot to make it work. I also have to mention, 2 days before we did the reshoot I did a really clumsy thing. I dropped a 15 kilo or 33 pounds weight on my foot. Here is a pretty nasty picture, so look away if you don't want to see it. 3, 2, 1. And this was like 30 seconds after I dropped the weight, so imagine how it looked 5 minutes after or 10 minutes after. Here's a picture how it looked around 10 days after I dropped the weight, and actually now, 2 years after I dropped the weight, I still don't have any feeling at all on the place on my foot where I dropped the weight. When I woke up the same morning we were going to do the reshoot, I had fever. 38.9 degrees Celsius or 102 Fahrenheit to be precise. This was one of our last chances to do the reshoot, so I didn't tell my dad or Andreas about it. At the end of the day I was really exhausted. I barely knew what I was doing. I was like, yeah, we put the camera here. Or no, we put the camera over here. Dad, can you give me the 50mm lens? Andreas, where is the tripod? Andreas, oh, yeah, we put the camera here, just do it. And so on. In the end it turned out great, but I was so exhausted. When we drove back home I froze a lot and I was shaking very much. When I got home I had over 40 degrees fever or 104 Fahrenheit. I felt so bad, so we went to the hospital. The doctor took some blood samples and he could see that I had an infection in my body because of the wound on my foot. I had to eat penicillin for a week and I actually lived with my mom and dad that week because I was too weak to live by myself. As soon as I felt better, I returned the red camera. I was supposed to reshoot the Kylo Ren chamber scene, but that didn't happen, as you might understand. I had to live with the footage I had, even if I didn't like it. A few months went by and I finished the rough cut and I had started with lots of the VFX. Then something fantastic happened. I got a job offer from a guy called Star Wars Theory. He was making a Star Wars fan film about Darth Vader. When I got this opportunity, I couldn't say no. So I paused my own production and worked with the Vader fan film for around 3 months. It was really intense, especially at the end, but I think it turned out great and I am really proud to be part of the fan film. If you haven't seen it, I will leave a link in the description down below so you can check it out. Around 2 weeks after we finished the Vader fan film, I got another job offer. This time from a guy named Blairim. He was working on a short film called The Fusion. He was going to show it at Cannes Film Festival. I accepted the job offer and I worked with that short film for around 4 weeks or so. Beside these 2 big jobs, I also did 2 smaller jobs that took around 6 weeks for both. Now I was going to pick up my own fan film again. It has gone around 1.5 years since I began with all the shooting. I was looking through the rough cut and all the effects and I wasn't super happy. I really wanted to reshoot the Kylo Ren chamber scene and some of the effects looked a bit cheap. I thought, it has been over a year now, so what is a few more weeks to improve some of the effects? I redid the effects, but to be honest, it took more time than it was worth it. The month went by and I was working really hard and it was so much to do. It was middle or late 2019 now. I didn't see an end of all this. Matthias, the guy who worked with Drowzee, hadn't worked anything with Drowzee for many months. I talked to him and he wasn't able to work with Drowzee anymore. He sent over all Drowzee material to me so I could pick up where he left. I don't blame him for that. Sometimes life happened and we can't do anything about it. We still talk to each other during the whole project and I really appreciate that. He could still give me some comments about the project, some effects, the cutting and stuff like that, but he was not able to work with the project and Drowzee anymore. Now, I was all by myself and it was so much to create. At one point I just wanted to quit. I'm not good at character animation, and now I was trying to animate Drowzee in a believable way in a program I had never used. Everything was so hard and it was so much to do. I had told my fans I would try to release the short film in 2018 or 2019, but now I knew that wasn't going to happen. People started to call me liar because I hadn't released the short film in late 2019. I started to read comments on YouTube and it's so much hate. YouTube filters away the worst comments, but I still have to review them. Nobody knew how much work it was, and nobody knew how much I was working with this short film. Nobody knew all the problems I was facing, and I had many other problems that I haven't mentioned, like my grandmother died, my little cat Leia was injured, so she had to live in a cage for 3 months. My girlfriend was working on Iceland, so she was away for a total of 8 months. I had not received a voice from a voice actor, and I needed that voice to lock the cut in order to send it to Jacob, the composer. I couldn't even go to my brother's home and play some Mario Kart, because I had this short film in my head all the time, and I just wanted to finish it. I didn't know what to do. What was I supposed to do? Of course, there is a lots of good people and comments as well. I am really grateful to everyone who defends me and give me good comments and energy to continue my work on YouTube. You are the best. You truly are. This is what you will see next time.